good night.
How we doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. Grumpy Joe in the house. Bubbly Kelin in the house.
Someone's got a case of the Mondays. It's the time change.
It's not so every cliche. Are you trying to ruin me mentally?
Joe hates cliches.
I hate it.
He hates when people point out obvious things that have happened.
Yes.
Holidays.
Every day having a national day of something.
Yes.
Yeah, all those things are just.
Today is National Napping Day, probably because of the time change.
Yeah. All right, how you doing this morning?
I'm good. The sun is shining.
Yeah.
We're closer to spring.
Yeah. I am spent.
Why?
Spent. I haven't done I've been in this 2 or 3 or month worth of nothing but programming. Like every available moment I've been in hard code and creating spaghetti structure of making something work. And I don't know if you know any programmers. It is a lifestyle where you get so entrenched and all of your thoughts and curiosities go towards something that we just basically live on caffeine, right?
Yeah.
And frustration the entire time.
Is it kind of like, not that I've ever done anything that in depth, but I have noticed if I am really focused on something and I stop for a minute, I'm like super groggy, like just groggy, tunnel vision. What the heck is even going on around me? Is it like that? Like you're just entrenched?
It's capacity being overwhelmed, right? And because you're managing so many individual pieces of something. So here's a little exercise. I want you to take my actual number is about 785 functions that have been programmed so far, and each one of them. Think of when they do the serial killers and they draw the red yarn to everything. And so think of 700 things and having relations to all of the things. And this thing ties into 19 different places. This one does 23. This one does 105.
And this, I'm assuming, is in regards to like AI computer program.
This is just strict programming stuff. So these are different functions and these are different interfaces and these are different data structures. It's hard to explain, really impossible to articulate, but just think about hey, take 100 people, right? And I want you to make connections of where you met those people and what they do for you, and then in your brain keep all those 100 people in mind, so that when you need to call on them for certain things, you know how many of those people you need to touch base with, right? Doing that all the time, and every day you're adding more people to the mix, so you're managing more functions and connections with other things. That's a constant for a month straight.
Just when I think I'm the weird one, and things that keep me up at night are strange, I come to find out I'm not so bad.
No, not at all.
It's just different. I think you have a more useful and productive way of constantly using brain power.
Yes.
My brain just goes to anxiety and dumb shit that I gotta turn off sometimes.
Yeah. Use some of that brain power to use more things that have utility and you'll be fine. You're doing it anyway.
You know what happened to me yesterday?
Right.
We were on a walk. It was nice and sunny. My husband and I took our dog for a walk. And as we're walking down this street in the neighborhood, somebody we know, we hear come outside and they go, "Hey guys." And we turn around and I go, "Hey there." And we walked off and I said, "Was that too much?" And my husband's like, "What?" I said, "Was I too loud? Did I yell too loud for the distance we were? Was my response is equally peppy, more peppy? Did I come off as weird?" And he's like, "Is this really what it's like in your head?" I was like, all the time. Was that too much? Did I say that right? Did they take it the right way? Did I come across as weird just then? This is me overthinking everything I said and did and how someone might have perceived that. What is wrong with me?
Exactly.
And you're like, "Oh,
I ask that every day.
Just know if I ever say anything that comes off to you as harsh or weird or taken aback by, just know I'll think of that for years to come.
Okay.
I'll know that I came off as weird and I will dwell on it forever. I was thinking of an embarrassing moment I had years ago last night trying to fall asleep.
Might as well.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
What did you do to celebrate National Women's Day yesterday?
Well, I didn't do this to celebrate it. I didn't realize it was until somebody told me, but I did something very scary yesterday. And that's probably why I have a pep in my step this morning is it's done, it's over. And I'm like, I had to speak at church yesterday.
Okay.
I gave the message at church. Yeah, I was scared. I was scared. But I did it and it went well and I didn't die and I got really good feedback and everybody told me I did really good. So I feel so glad it's done. I'm so glad it's done.
So how is it that we can do both things? We can push for gender equality and have National Women's Day. How are those things square?
Well, I think that in the attempt of trying to reach equality in a situation that used to not be equal, aka men and women, years ago, obviously, we're not equal, couldn't do the same things. So then we put these things in place to gain equality, but then once we gain a little equality, kind of just keep going. We kind of just keep it in the loop, apparently.
Okay, so let's just say we did this with races, right?
Yeah.
And let's just say, let's let the law and processes equally treat people. Okay.
Yeah.
What if there was a person that decided that they wanted to continue something celebrating racism long after equality? Would it make a whole lot of sense to continue on and allow racism to be something you're like, hey, it existed at one time, so let's just keep pretending like it did. Like, so if genders were equal and we're like, all right, everybody's kind of cool, just treat everybody equally, then dredging up something like paying attention to women on a separate day is exactly opposite than what the feminist movement and gender equality was supposed to do. So why are we referring to something that doesn't exist anymore?
Do you feel that men and women are 100% equal?
You'd have to cite me some kind of mathematics that would say how they are.
So unequal. Your answer is yes.
Yeah.
Do you believe in and or practice chivalry? Why?
It's what I choose to do. It's I do politeness. I compliment. I'm optimistic. It's
chivalry towards women.
Yeah.
Why would are you chivalrous towards men?
Yeah.
Equally?
Necessity based, right? So if I ran across somebody who was struggling, right, or not able to lift a thing or twist a thing or do a thing, I would help them because I'm considerate to other people. Now it's more acceptable and more people are open to when a man helps a woman do something that they're not capable of doing, where men are a little different, where they don't necessarily
not capable of doing. Like when you get, when you get the door for a woman, what's that? It's a chivalrous act.
But I get a door for everyone.
Yeah, like a woman is capable of doing it,
right?
So, like, do you have an example of something you would do for a woman because they can't do it themselves?
Example, the biological differences that put women at a disadvantage on certain things, like, the muscle structure. Opening a pickle jar, right?
By the way,
a
couple months ago, there was a jar that needed opened at home, and I had to do it. Nobody else in the house could do it.
Yeah,
I did it.
But it's not gender specific. There are other people that lack the dexterity. So if anybody was struggling with a pickle jar, I don't care if it's a man or a woman. It just so happens mathematically that it's more women than men for biological reasons. But it's not a decision that I'm making where I'm like, there's a dainty woman. She must need help with everything.
Would you ever punch a woman?
No, I wouldn't. That's because
it's different, isn't it?
It is. And because
so they are not 100% the same.
They aren't, as long as like there are sort of like when women still pay homage to their femininity. And they're playing that role where they're on purpose being a woman, right? And then I will sort of like honor that and treat them like the role that they are, because I don't think that's a bad thing. Now, if there was a woman who absolutely said, I don't want to play any of the stereotype roles of a woman, then that person is punchable, not open to the same chivalrous deal. There's wiring in our brains. Like, we kind of know when we're dealing with someone who's in a role and someone who's not. I treat them accordingly.
Like, St. Patrick's Day is coming up. It's Boondock Saints time.
Yes.
The woman in the beginning of Boondock Saints that was working in the meat factory with them.
Mm-hmm.
You'd probably punch a woman like that.
Right. Because they're not playing the role of almost like, once someone pierces the veil of the role that they're hitting, they lose the benefits of having pierced that role. So if there's a woman who likes that, men honor them and cherish them and worship them, you get a fair bit of treatment so long that you stay in that role and don't pierce that veil. Once you do, then all of those benefits go away and you're just another person. So I still am willing to allow women to play that role and get those benefits. So if a woman walks in to a bar and wants a free drink because it's ladies' night, as long as that woman is playing the role, then I'm like, okay, well, we all know what's happening here.
Yeah.
But once you're like, none of the downsides that go along with playing the woman role, the stereotypical woman role, then I don't honor the benefits. You lose it. It's gone.
Yeah. And I'm kind of on the fence because, again, like you would say, I would appreciate women being viewed equally as men in all aspects.
And the downsides.
I will say, and this is just me, and I'm a little biased because I've done this, the moment I had natural childbirth, we are not the same. Like, I want recognition until the day I die for having done that. Like, I'm telling you, until a man can understand what that is like, I want a National Women's Day. I want a National Women's Day for the sheer aspect of Kelin. Holy crap. Women do that. They deserve a day. They deserve a whole day. Multiple days. National Women's Day, Mother's Day. It's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, and you being able to do something that I can't makes me want to say, put you up on a pedestal and saying, these people are so necessary in our society that they should be acknowledged for what role they play in it. And yeah.
But again, if we created National Men's Day, wouldn't hate it. Why not? Why not do the same thing and appreciate everything that a man does and every way that a man sacrifices and every way that men should be recognized? I have no issue with that at all.
Yeah, but the thing is that it's a divisive deal where we're talking about gender, you're talking about race or ethnicity, right? You can't celebrate the majority because our whole culture is wrapped up in the minority, right? And so the minority can pull things off that the majority can't. And so, like, you never want to be in the majority because you're at a implied disadvantage from go.
Do you feel like lately the majority is almost shamed?
It is, and that's on a systemic plane.
Yeah,
that every majority, and you think about it, like in real, behavioral, we don't want the majority to go tyrannical over the minority because the majority can always crush it. So the power balance is that the minority can get a little bit extra nudge. Like, whoever's the Goliath is evil and whoever's the David is the noble, no matter what the cause. Yeah. We want to root for
the underdog
every single time. That's just part of us.
So we'll make one unnecessarily if need be.
Yeah. But in a true, fair and honest, truthful system, you could celebrate men. You can celebrate white dudes. You can celebrate anything, right?
Yeah.
So long that you're not implying that the thing is superior. So we can take men and women, know we're better at certain things, worse at different things. And I don't need to think of you as lesser because you don't share my exact skill sets. And you don't have to think that I'm lesser because I don't share yours. It's in our nature to cooperate with other people who are better and worse at different things that we are. And then through that thing called a marriage, and it could be a physical marriage between a man and woman, or just a cooperation between skill sets that are different. But also human beings, like we work with companies that are partnerships, right? Mm-hmm. And you'll have a contractor that does all the work, and you'll have the financier. Well, they get together and say, hey, he can bring all the money, right, to make sure I get all of my materials and equipment and contracts, and then I'll do the actual work. And that on its face is like, okay, cool. Two people coming to the dance, bringing different skill sets, working together to do something, and it works out. But there's some point down the road that one of the two or both, right, start saying, I'm doing all the work, and this dude's sitting in an air-conditioned office, and all he's doing is the money. I'm entitled to more because I think I have more sweat equity into the partnership.
Yeah.
And then the financier's like, hey, you know what? Without me and all the money that I brought to the table, you'd be sitting on your ass anyway and not having any work to do. And then that strife between those two, the men versus women, the black versus white, the Jews versus the Muslims, both of them think that they're better. And they're pulling more of the weight in the cooperation. And that's when we go, boom. So if you don't build that in to the marriage, knowing that at some point you're going to feel like you're getting the raw end of the deal, and you're going to want to up your benefits to equalize that, because in your brain, there's an injustice going on.
Yeah. And then it becomes so stereotypical. Like, a lot of people, I think, would assume in a typical family nucleus of a husband and a wife and kids. Do you think most people would assume that the husband is probably the one that goes to work and is the breadwinner, and the mother sort of does the majority of the child rearing and keeps track of everything with school and cooks all the meals and kind of runs everything, and the husband's kind of along for the ride and he's backup? That's kind of like a stereotype right now. And I've even heard it.
But a functional stereotype.
Yeah. But I mean, in our house, like, granted, it wasn't always this way because my husband was military, so he was gone a lot. But since he is retired, he has more flexibility now, and I work more often. Mm-hmm. So he's the one, like, I ask him, well, when's this project due? Or what do they have to turn in? Or what permissions? He's the one tracking all the school stuff. He cooks dinner every single night. He's the one that does all these different things. When I went out of town, everyone's like, oh, are you guys going to survive without her? And he's like, yeah, like, yes, she's the backup now. And so you almost get into then these stereotypes of like.
But I call them functional stereotypes because you think as our culture evolved from early times, we had no technology. We were figuring it out. The person that had the most amount of time in the home because they were not accepted into the workforce, developed those stereotypes because they were the best person for the job. Now, when you have technology and ability, now you can, in my household, we have who's better at it is the primary deal. Yeah, who's the better driver, who can lift heavier things, who likes doing it more, who has better talent base in there. So we look at it all the time and say, okay, well, if I'm the better driver, then I drive. It's not because I'm a man, it's because I'm actually better at it.
Yeah.
And then, hey, you're better. Like, I do laundry, I do dishes. Why? Because I'm regimented as shit. And I don't, my wife is more like, let it build up for a couple days and then, pounce
knock it all out.
And, when she does that, she's good at conquering big things, but it makes her feel terrible. And a job like doing laundry, where you only make so many things at a time, you only eat off so many dishes at a time, that if you do it regimented, like every single day, you always keep up with it. It's this massive machine that doesn't take any thought. So I'm just better at it. It's not, there's no gender roles that go along. It's not, I don't have better availability. I don't have, better skill set. It's just, I'm better at the strategy behind it.
Do you guys, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. What was I just about to ask you?
I don't know. Driving, dishes, laundry, regimens.
Oh, I've always seen this meme on Facebook that says, in every marriage, there's two kinds of people. One that needs to relax before they get some stuff done, and one that needs to get the stuff done before they relax and they marry each other.
Yes.
Is that how you guys are?
That's pretty close.
Yeah. I feel like I'm kind of lucky in that I'm the kind of person, if I'm going to relax, I need things done. Like, I want to sit in a clean living room with things put away and a task I needed to get done. And it's not that I can't relax if it's not, but that's how I choose to decompress. And luckily, my husband is similar. I don't think he needs to do that. I think he can just sit down and relax. But yeah, it is nice when like one of us will see the other straightening up. And so the other one will be like, oh, I should probably, all right, I'll jump in too. And then we get it done. And then we're like, okay, good teamwork. Now we can relax.
Yeah.
Is there any like push pull there in your household?
We have a lot of like functional things that we enjoy doing, and our relaxing is just going into the one, right? It's still getting shit done. There's never just idle time where we're doing nothing. We're not staring at screens for long periods of time. We're hanging out, playing a game, putting plans together, painting. Like we're always doing something. Mm-hmm. So our relaxing is much different. Like I can never justify, I constantly add up how many hours I've been alive and how many more I'm likely to see before I die.
Oh, so that's fun.
When I'm sacrificing an hour where I'm getting nothing closer to end goal, I know it's wasting, not relaxing.
Do you ever reach burnout?
No. I have many things that I'm like, okay, so I have 7 different categories of where I'm either developing, working on something. Some of those categories are in development in things that don't take physical. Like, so if I'm tired with my muscles, I'll jump into a brain thing. And if my brain thing's tired, I'm overwhelmed, then I'll go and do a physical thing. And they're usually never at odds with one another. I'm never usually mentally tired and physically tired. Right?
Really?
Yeah.
I think I've been both. I've noticed sometimes at night when I'm exhausted, like I just want to quit everything. I've taken on too much. I don't know what I was thinking. I can't do all of this. It's too much. I've got to quit some stuff. And then usually the next morning, once I've slept, I'm like, I'm fine. I was just tired. I can do this. I have my coffee. Let's get back to it.
Yeah. I don't like guilt and regrets from the previous day. And so I eliminate all things that make me feel bad after I have done them. And so I just don't do them anymore. And and the energy that I would put in guilt and regret, I'm saving up to stay in constant motion.
So you're probably not one to take something on because you feel obligated to.
Oh, no. I'm very outwardly critical, and I don't fall in the trap of doing that, like committing myself in those territories. And if I find myself trapped, I bail out really fast.
I have noticed my husband and I are both the type of people that if we see a need, like in an organization, somebody's event, somebody's whatever, they really need help. We're like, hey, we should go help. And then later we're like, why did we do that? And like part of us is like, well, they didn't have anyone and they did need the help and we're helping and it's a good thing. And then part of me is like, but now are we doing it because we felt obligated?
Yeah, I don't do that. And maybe some people, I've hurt their feelings over the years by, especially like when I sat on boards for organization, nonprofits or whatnot. And they were like, hey, we need your help in this department. Right.
Yeah.
And then I sat on the board and I watched 3 hours go by and like 15 minutes worth of work. Then I put my resignation on that board almost immediately saying, hey, we got to figure something out. Either we have to come in, put the first hour just getting shit done, and then you can go all the other social shit if you want to, but I'm here for one purpose and you're avoiding the actual purpose why I'm at the table. It's a waste of my expertise. And I really like you. I think your organization's great, but you don't know how to get things done. You like to hang out with other people and drink coffee.
Can I skip the team building exercise portion of this board meeting and just get right into the problem solving?
100% of these meetings have accepted my resignation, unwilling to change the format of their boards and allowed me to walk away. Right. And if I would have been bashful, how happy would I be if I got sucked into a board that I agreed to, that I wanted to help and participate, felt like I had no purpose for actually being there and hated every minute and too bashful to say I'm out unless you change it.
Like I'm only coming to this meeting out of sheer obligation, but I feel like it's 100% pointless.
Yep.
Yeah. Jerry says, Joe sounds like the picture of AI or robotics.
Kelin says that every single day.
I am not fully convinced that Joe is not AI and a living robot.
I mean, I can't confirm nor deny because I don't know. Maybe I am. I could be an NPC for all I know.
Do you ever sit sometimes and think, am I the same or different as other human beings?
I know I'm different. Yeah, I met enough of them that there are very few that are similar to my thought patterns and how I process things. Very few.
I could see you. I know you don't see the need to go to college, and 100%. I can see that too. If you did, if hypothetically you did, obviously you would probably be into like computers, math, science realm. But I could see you also doing like sociology, something.
Yeah,
like studying
I have interest
people.
in it, but college is too much of a waste of time. Like, if you get through an hour class and you get 5 minutes worth of things that you didn't know before or practice something, like I would think that's a colossal waste of time.
Yeah. Too. I mean, there are courses that you're just like, oh my gosh,
am I here?
Like some of them are like, wow, that was a fast hour. Like we could talk about this all day. This is so interesting. And then other courses you're like, did I really drive all the way here for this today?
Yep.
Or you drive there and they just say, here's your paperback. We'll see you later.
Yep.
And you're like,
my son is exactly like me. Exactly. He does not bullshit around with things that don't make sense and waste time. I love it because some of his teachers probably hate him so much, but some of them really say, well, this guy's, gifted kid that's ambitious as can be.
Here's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Not related to your son, but it just made me think.
Yeah.
Is there value though in being someone that does sort of cater to others in order to be well liked, in order to work with others? Like there is I am sure there's a real benefit to, like you said, being able to be like, nope, clear boundary. I don't really care if it upsets you. I'm not going to worry about people pleasing. This is what I want to do. This is what's valuable to me. Take it or leave it. Is there also value in sort of playing the game and having these seemingly pointless interactions in a way to then kind of use that later? Kind of like how you were saying earlier is, who do I know? How do I relate to them? How can I best use them in the future? Some of them, do you think, well, I am going to have to sort of do this dance of networking and social whatever and be like them to make them like me?
Yeah. I mean, it's possible to do that. And I know a lot of people that are similar to me that do the dance and they get the benefits and whatever. I do a benefit analysis on it to see if it's worth, juice was worth the squeeze. And most of the time it's not. So let's just say there was a nonprofit and they wanted me to be on their board. And I said, the only way I'll be here is if you get to the good stuff. And then I'll go do the dose. Like the concession is that you're going to change it for me. You're going to get my expertise, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to get a little bit of unwanted or unneeded interactions. And then I got, you got the best of both worlds. I got the best of both worlds. But usually those natural filters were people who don't have, time boundaries. They find one another and they go just waste time together. And people who do have time boundaries find each other and they don't waste each other's time. So that filtering makes these two groups of people so that they don't have much overlap. And I will go into those worlds when I need something, go get it as quickly as possible and jump out of those worlds because I'm totally uncomfortable in them.
Well, and I think the biggest example too of what I mean is like with gentle parenting. And I don't even know if that's still a big thing anymore, maybe with some people, but you would see these couples with their kids and it was like, well, we let them do this and we let them run around and be loud and we don't make them interact with people and we don't make them use manners. And it's all just whatever the kid wants to do so that they can feel relaxed and that they are a part of this environment, yada, yada. And I want to say, that's great, but nobody else likes your kid. Nobody can stand them. All the other adults hope you don't bring your kids around. And if your kids are around, they're annoyed. And nobody wants to play with them because they are annoying. So what's better? You think you're helping the mental health and development of your child, but you have crippled them socially and nobody can stand them or be around them. Is that not also detrimental? And then where's the line? Like, how do you not become a people pleaser and not be able to set your own boundaries, but also still be able to function in society and have emotional intelligence and be able to socially
Yeah, well, we talk a lot about like human beings and creating religions inside of things. And so we have these ideals in our brain that make sense, logical. So we'll use environmentalism, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a unifying thing that if you have a park or a world or whatever, you don't want to make it shitty because when you walk into a park and you took a dump somewhere, that you got to live in the park and now there's a dump there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we can agree that you don't want that to happen. So that once you then establish an ideal, now, regardless of data, you go hog wild in a direction because you like that direction and you prosper in that direction and you worship in that direction. And now, so we'll say gentle parenting. On theory, that's your environmentalism. All right. You want your kid to be happy. And your theory is that when your kid's happy, it's a good participant and it'll be well liked. Well, then when you measure it and say, hey, what I thought was going to happen, that if we did the Green New Deal and we put up solar panels and we had wind farms, that then that would fix or create this output. Well, when you take the gentle, and I don't know, mixed metaphors, just jumping back and forth. Now, when you take your kid and you did gentle parenting and then you analyze the kid and how they came, what the outcome is. Now I'm measuring you and saying, well, your gentle parenting in theory was good, but that's the product of your gentle parenting. And that's a failed experiment. You got to go back. But the zealot will say, well, no, it's not because of the gentle parenting. It's because of ... Right.
Yeah.
And they'll never say that the theory of, gentle parenting equals a likable kid will never be wrong. And it'll always be an ideal that will always, no matter who challenges it and what measurements you have.
Yeah.
Gentle, likable, because parents like when their kids like them. They're their best friend rather than, a collection of meat that you're trying to make into a tool that can be, good in this world and a positive.
Yeah. I've had friends too, where maybe the couple is divorced. And now because the divorced couple is so bitter with one another, they use everything against one another. So now they feel like, well, I can't really be hard on my kid or else my kid might want to go live with them. Or I can't really say no because the other parent will say yes. And then I look like the bad guy. And they almost like cater to the kid as like a negotiating tactic. And I have to be like, remember what you're doing here, though. Like, they won't always be a kid. You've got to raise a functioning adult that not everybody else in society wants to punch in the face. Like, it might be hard and you want to be the one that the kid likes and you don't want to be pitted against each other, but are you raising someone that everyone else will want to punch in the face? Because that will stay with them forever.
Yeah. What's going on with Iran, by the way? I wasn't paying attention to anything.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. All
right, anybody listening, if you can bring me up to speed. So this is where, and just in passing, this is what I picked up on. So the first round was Israel and the United States took out all the air defenses and all of the ballistics missiles, first pass. Took out the leadership, the Ayatollah, some of the, command structure for the military. They'd elect new ones. They take those ones out. So a lot of the infrastructure was really, you could fly planes around and there's nothing coming at you. And some of these hidden ones, they pulled up and they started hitting military bases and countries from their neighbors. So they pissed off a lot of the would-be neutral or, pro-Iran side, and they kicked those hornets' nests. So now that, we have participation with 5 or 6 countries that would have just sat on the sidelines. And I believe over the weekend, they hit some oil facilities in Iran and lit them on fire. So pretty much Iran is decimated. And if you were going to bring them back to the table and to get them to agree, you're now fourth string leadership, people who aren't as, hard-lined as the previous leadership.
Did I see something about the son of someone now coming into power? I don't know if it was the Ayatollah's son.
Yeah, elected. I think he might have been taken out already.
I was going to say, that's pretty risky.
Yeah.
If I was a son, I'd be like, hell
I don't
no.
want the job.
Are you like, that's a suicide mission?
Yeah. And so I think at this point, like it's been rumored that Iran was willing to come to the table and do an agreement. And Trump was like, no, the negotiations were a week ago, guys. If you really wanted it, you would have happened now. Not that we're on the total decapitation side of this operation, you're going to have to wait until we're done breaking the rest of your shit, because that's what you bought by being, you know.
Speaking of, you missed the negotiations table. How do you feel about the idea? And tell me if I'm wrong, because I've heard two people explain it this way now. Did we say, and by we I mean Trump, let's sit down, let's come to the negotiation table, let's see what we can work out. Maybe we can come up with a deal. Gather all your dudes, we'll gather mine, and we're going to talk. And when they gathered all their dudes in one place, we killed them all. Is that how this went down?
I don't think so. I think before the war broke out, there was a negotiation, and it got close a couple times, but Iran was just unwilling to let, you know, the enrichment, you know, for whatever they were using it for power generation or whatever they said they were doing with it. And the hard line was they broke off, couldn't come to an agreement. And then we're like, okay, well, it's go time. We told you, we parked all our ships on your shores. We said, if we can't get something, we're going to get it. So this is your shot right now to do it on terms where we don't have to attack you, or we're going to attack you.
Yeah, because I keep hearing two different sides, and I guess it depends on where you get your information. One is Trump said it multiple times, you better lay down your weapons, you better start working with us, or we're going to blow you to smithereens, and they chose not to.
And they got blown to smithereens.
And or they even threatened. They said, not only are we not doing that, but supposedly, according to Trump, there was a very real threat that they were trying to take him out. And he was struck first.
They were.
And then you hear other people say, okay, we'll come to the table and we'll talk. And when he gathered everybody, we bombed and took them out and killed them all. Which, I will say, if that's true, feels slimy to me. I don't know if it's true or not, because I keep hearing two different sides. But I don't know. I mean,
what was it symmetrical though? Was Iran like doing slimy stuff as well? Did we not play the strategy against?
Yeah, again, I've heard two different things. Some people say, no, they were not even on our league. There's no way they could have done anything. And then I've heard other people say, this has been building for years.
Yes.
For years they have tried to come after us.
Yeah.
And we foiled different things. Like, this wasn't out of nowhere. This was, y'all better stop. We're not playing anymore.
Yep.
And they didn't want to stop, so we took them out.
And they figured, because it was so political over the last, 4 decades, that they could just say certain things and lie to us, and that we're not going to hit them anyway because they're not going to take that risk. And with Trump, they got it completely wrong. And he was like, I mean what I'm saying right now. Okay, if you walk away from this negotiation, you're dead meat, right? And so the threat is real. We're at war with you. Previous administrations have kept taking it easy on you and even paid you off. That is no longer the case. So if you don't take it serious right now, it's either do it willingly or you're done.
Yeah, because I saw a video online, and I know that it was real because I'm pretty sure I remember seeing the actual interview. They showed clips of both Kamala Harris and was it Tim Walz maybe? I can't remember who the other Democrat was. In like a 60-minute interview, and they said, what would you say to Iran right now? And they said, don't.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously Iran was doing something. Obviously there was a plot happening. Obviously something was going on, because 2 other Democrats warned them, you better stop now.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Trump acts on it, they're like, oh, what just happened? We just struck out of nowhere, and we're just these big bullies. So then I say, okay, because I'm willing to hear every side. Let's say he's just an arrogant bully, and this was way out of line. Why? Like, is there oil we want? Do we want their land? Like, why are we trying to flex muscle to get elected again? Like, why would we just go and strike someone for no reason? And that's when I hear, well, that's the reason you don't know that is because that's not what happened.
Yeah. So there's one thing that ends this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is a surrender. Like, so in war, and they declared war on us. The death to America wasn't just like a chant. They've been at war with us since the 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
And so when you're at war with someone, you're either, hitting them and they're hitting you, or they surrender and then you stop hitting them and then they've been conquered and then you take over because you were the victor and then you fix whatever you just broke, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if they want no war, the only one thing that gets out of a declared war is a surrender. And until you do that, you're at war and all of the pieces that go into war apply to you. So calling shady deals and covert operations and bombings and all of that goes along with it. If you don't want that, there's one thing, all you got to do, want all that stuff to disappear, surrender, unconditional surrender. The Japanese did it when we two nuked them, right? Double nukers, right? They did an unconditional surrender, and we figured out a way to come back after the surrender to make sure that they weren't a threat to us anymore. Is Iran a threat to us and all of their neighbors and the world economy in general? Absolutely. And we are at war with cartels, these tyrannical governments that threaten everybody.
They kill their own people.
Trump said, no more unconditional surrender, change your ways. And if there's any opposition to that, we're just going to bomb you.
Yeah.
So
Joseph says the dead Ayatollah's son is the new Ayatollah. Yeah, because I think I just saw that over the weekend that he was coming into power. And I'm like, that's crazy.
You're done.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing to do. Carter says not true, which I think was in reference to they gathered all their people and then we killed them all. Julie says the new Ayatollah is the son of the old Ayatollah. 17 other countries have been bombed. This is Israel's war. We never had to attack. The 7 Americans and 175 girls didn't have to die. There is no plan. What is the end game? Nobody knows.
I mean, you can take, like, if you're looking at it strictly from a war strategy, which the military isn't a political apparatus. It is once they get green lighted for a deal, like what can you extrapolate from what they're doing that says, what is the military's actual goal? You listen to Pete Hegseth, you listen to what Trump is saying, like they're not being covert on this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are there to take all of the capabilities that Iran has used to inflict damage on the rest of the world. And we are taking those pieces off the Iranian table, gone. Okay. So if they were able to, secretly enrich uranium for, military weapons development, that piece has to be taken off the table. If they can throw ballistic missiles at their neighbors, that has to be taken off of the table. If the Ayatollahs are killing their own people, the Ayatollah is taken off the table. So the deal is any misbehaving tokens that are on the war plan map disappear, and that is the objective. And then what's remaining there, if it's the people then take over and elect their own government, like that wasn't on our wartime table, so we don't care if that happens. We're just taking the pieces that affects the United States and our people off of the effing table. So it's like, hey, Iran, don't build ballistic missiles. Okay, we built ballistic missiles, and then we say, okay, don't shoot them at your neighbor, and then they shoot them at their neighbor. Well, those things, because we gave you directives not to do something and you did them anyway, you created a threat in yourself. You did that. We didn't tell you to do ballistic missiles. And so, like, if Iran would have said, hey, our neighbors are a threat and we need ballistic missiles, and then we're like, hey, we don't want you to build ballistic missiles, so why don't you sign on with us? You give us a good deal on oil and we'll protect you so that you don't have to do ballistic missiles, because your Ayatollahs don't play the regular game like most countries do. Now we had a compromise, but Iran would lie and cheat and steal and do shit anyway, and they needed to be reprimanded by someone who was more powerful than they were. Like the timeline that we've been able to accomplish this stuff, right, has been way more impressive than I thought was even possible from our government.
So when this administration was elected, I think people were sort of banking on the hope of no more unnecessary wars. Is this war necessary?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I was just wondering.
And then, to me, an unnecessary war is a political war, right? So Obama, if you take it, let's just say there's this misbehaving group of, terrorists in part of the country. And your plan is we want to either remove them or make it so they can't hurt anybody, right? And Obama's like, well, for politics' sake, I want to pretend like I'm doing something. So I shoot 2 missiles there that don't really do anything. They're still operating. That is an unnecessary war because you made a military action with no intention to cleaning up the entire thing. A necessary war is like, hey, there are cartels operating. Your pass fail is after you've done something, are cartels still operating? If the answer is yes, they're still operating, now it's unnecessary because there was no end game. You didn't actually fix the problem. You just did a couple of token gestures towards it. And now that was unnecessary because there was cost, political cost, physical cost, and they're still operating. So that's the definitionally how I.
So really, again, we're back to this divisive nature where which narrative do you believe? Bad man that just has to stroke his ego and start problems and blow shit up for his own gain, or there was a real threat to us and we needed to act, and we did. Do you think whichever narrative is believed based on how you feel about President Trump?
Well, I don't think we know enough to either decide that. All we know is that he was elected to do a thing and he's doing that thing. And so the people who didn't elect him don't feel great about the thing that he's doing. You reverse the script, and then the next guy who you do support can do the things, and you can decide whether or not that makes you mad or you're happy with it or not. So I don't necessarily think we get it. It's not sort of in our toolbox to be able to say that it was right or wrong. It's just measurements. Like, did he say they were a threat? Okay, fine. I don't know enough to say really that I believe he's a threat. I believe him that he's that's a threat. And now, is that threat there anymore? No, it's not. Okay, well, you did your job regardless. Now, the people that don't agree that Iran wasn't a threat, right? Those are those zealots who will have that ideal in their head, like gentle parenting. And they're like, oh, it should be all peace and just kindness. And we should have just hugged Iran and whatever. And then people like me are like, okay, well, you hugged Iran for a little while. Did you solve the problem by hugging? You felt better about it because it was a way that didn't include missiles and death, right? But did it work? Okay, well, that didn't work. And they've been around 45 years threatening people and enabling proxies and terrorists to hurt their neighbors. Okay, that was a bad plan. So you don't get to decide those things. This one, where we mop it up and keep people, sort of like not safe, but not able to really hurt us or their neighbors, maybe it's a better plan. In
fact, didn't this all start last year with sort of that warning shot, so to speak, where we went and took out some weapons and nobody was killed, nobody was injured, we just damaged by taking some stuff out? And did they say, okay, time out, we'll calm down? No.
Well, Operation Paper Tiger, right?
Paper Tiger.
Right. So nobody in that part of the world took the United States serious that they would actually do the things that they were capable of doing. So on paper, it's like, ooh, they have bombers and they have ground troops and they have these connections with Israel and they have all this ability. But then they'll walk up to you and say, if you don't do this, we're going to hurt you. And the rest of the world's like, they're not going to freaking do that. So they didn't take it serious. So now all those neighbors have been put on notice that when we're like, let's just say we go to Sudan or we go to Turkey or we go to Pakistan and they're misbehaving. We're like, hey, I want to let you know that we're not happy about doing this. We want you to stop doing it or help us towards it. Now they got to think, are we dealing with Paper Tiger United States, or I just want to blast the shit out of Iran? Because Iran is a great sort of cautionary tale. If you don't if you mess around with the United States, they won't just give you a strongly worded letter at this point. Now you're gone, right? And now they have to take it a little bit more serious. And when we're dealing with Mexico or some places in South America that are supporting, the drug industry, they're going to take us serious the next time. We're like, hey, you guys got cartels ingrained in your judiciary and it's part of your governments and they got payoffs. We don't like that. And shit's coming into our country. Stop that. Now that leader has to think, okay, he's giving us the option to do it ourselves, so it's nice and graceful. We can do it on our terms. If we don't do it, I know that there's going to be some bombers and some ground troops and some operatives that come in there are going to do it if we don't, right? But under Biden or Obama, they could be like, they're not going to do shit. That was just for the newspapers. They're not doing anything. And then they don't do anything to change it. So I think of one thing is I think we're taken more serious now.
Tom says, hey, it's my running mate and my war secretary. So Tom has been tagging me in things. Okay. Like I should run for something. Tom, I can't think of a worse person to run for anything political. I appreciate the vote of confidence. I'd love to know what you think you see in me. I appreciate it, but
Tom trusts you to be honest. Where when you look at a politician and all you see is bullshit clouds, where when you look at Kelin, we're not afraid to just say what it is. And
just be like, I don't know.
People who value trustworthy, honest people are going to vote for you, regardless if you can do anything once you get there. Tom doesn't care the effectiveness, only that
get in office.
I got here and it's really confusing and there's a lot to do and I don't know what I'm doing. He'd be like, oh, I love it.
I'd get elected and I'd go to a meeting and they'd say, Kelin, what's going on? I don't know. Everybody's screaming at each other. And I just want us to all get fed and have some lunch so we can calm down and just everybody love each other.
And then Kelin comes over to War Secretary Joe and says, listen, it's too loud in here. Blow some shit up,
Yeah,
please.
I was like, I don't understand. Everybody's mad all the time. I'm going to go home. Carter says, I'd rather take it to them. Oh, I lost it. It jumped. I'd rather take it to them before that they take it to us. Don't you wish we would have hit Japan before Pearl Harbor? Monday morning quarterbacks make me tired. Yeah, we have a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks. Julie says, no, absolutely unnecessary and never ending. We don't have our allies to back us anymore.
It'll prove out, because I think in the game of like these countries, we project and think they're just like us. But what they really value, the currency in that part of the world, is power, right? Mm-hmm. And they had an immense amount. And I would say that Iran was pretty restrained. They knew the power dynamic of how far they could go and what they could get away with to be relevant in the area. The proxies were everything to them. The misdeeds being channeled through other people that could get away with it so they could say, hey, that's not us. Like, they had a really good system and routine. And so the reason I think that it's not going to be a lasting thing is we took the advantage about operating that way completely away. So if you can have Hezbollah firing rockets at you and they're completely funded by Iran, if you take that in your regular life, and let's just say you had an enemy across the street and they were like, I can't do it, but I can pay these kids over here to throw eggs at my house, and then get away with it. Because when you were like, hey, stop throwing eggs at my house, they're like, it wasn't me, it was those children down the road. So now you put the smack down. You know what's going on, and now the kids are hit and you're hit, and you're like, oh shit, like these proxies aren't working because they're holding me responsible and accountable for them now. I'm out of this strategy.
And I mean, we're seeing more and more too about Iran's control over its own people, like controlling social media, controlling what type of information they're fed, killing their own citizens if they dare to protest. So two-part question, I guess. One, if that was what they were doing, if it had nothing to do with us, they weren't threatening us, they didn't have nuclear weapons, all it is here's a country of their own people being tortured. Justified or not justified stepping in?
So if we had a country that was doing genocide, right? And we went to their leadership and said, come on, this is the world stage. We don't do genocide here. So let's just say, the Southern Africa still participates in that. Why aren't we leveraging that to protect and save lives? So would that be unnecessary? It would be a noble gesture.
Yeah.
But there's so much of it happening. Like, we'd be at war with every country who didn't play the game like we play.
That's the thing. If this truly is this sort of evil entity that is horrific to their people and they need help, is it our business to give help or not? Now you take that same atmosphere and now they're starting to threaten us. So now do we step in? Like, listen, you're already an evil entity and now you're threatening us? It's kind of like people got to say, like, where do we then get involved? Like, what are you comfortable with? Get involved here, but not here. Get involved a little bit, but
that's where the United Nations set up a principled list. So rather than it's just one country's obligation to go into Sudan or go into wherever this is happening, we put a force where we were bankrolling to do that, but it became corrupted. It just became another political apparatus, and it didn't go around fighting those battles. It's almost like we trust the Red Cross, that everybody will respect that they're not part of the war, but they absolutely see a need there and soldiers that are injured and whatever. So we don't shoot those guys, right?
Yeah.
So the respect of the UN would be when they come to your door, they're seeing something that militaries don't solve easily on their own. And let's do this round where the UN comes in. The world agrees that this can't go on. The force of this unit has abilities to diminish it. And then we don't have the United States going after it being world police. We have that group going after it, which everybody agrees that we don't want people to die because you have a shithole country that doesn't know how to manage its people.
So what about those that think we are fighting Israel's war because Israel controls us a bit?
I mean, it's a fair curiosity, right? But I don't think that it passes the scrutiny test. So in its pure form, if you make the accusation that, let's just say, your bouncer, right, is being instructed to go after someone specifically, and there's a sort of a burden of proof to say, okay, well, the bouncer is ignoring dun and only going after Tom Smith.
Yeah.
Well, is that the case? So if you paint the picture of Israel being a different religion surrounded by a bunch of countries who say every day, I disagree with you, I hate you, you think you should die, right? So if that's the broader war that we're being pulled into, supporting our ally against a lot of people that absolutely hate them. So I guess the definition is, what do you consider Israel's war? Is there overlapping principles that just conveniently connect? Or is it like, we don't care who wins, but Israel told us to do it, and we're a drone, and we're going to do whatever Israel wants to. So
we have to back them up regardless if they're right or wrong.
Right. Yeah. And it's a cynical view, but still I say it's a curiosity because it's worth looking to make sure that we're just not a lapdog for somebody and operating off theirs. It's like, hey, they're doing bad things and we agree with they're doing bad things. And it's a cooperative. It's nobody's war. It's a battle against an ideology or an idea.
I think there's a couple up top. If your kid gets drafted, how will you feel about it then? Julie says. Do you want to answer that or no?
I don't know what the charge is.
Yeah, like if your kid has to go and fight this war, are you still going to say this was a necessary war?
So I'm a principled person, right? So Democrats have this ability to personalize it with themselves, right? And so the conflicts on the Democrat side I think illegal immigrants should be here, and separating it from, okay, I'm going to send an illegal immigrant to live with you, right? That's the argument there, where on a principle, do you believe something should happen? And do you think that you're the one to make the ultimate sacrifice? If they were consistent across the board, it's like, I think the taxes should be higher, so I pay more in taxes. I think that, the environment should be clean, so I pay attention every day to my carbon footprint. I believe in military exercise, so that I'd be willing to fight there even myself universally. Well, they're not consistent on any of those issues. So this is just a middle finger up to people who will support the war but don't participate in the war personally. Like, I love the military, and if the military needed me for my actual skill set, I would absolutely, if they call me right now and says, hey, Joe, we need your AI prowess or your technical ability, but I'm not going to be your best field person.
Yeah.
5'4", 100 and nothing pounds. And I'm a pretty good marksman, but I'm not your best candidate. What you're saying is you want me, because you disagree with me, to become fodder, not being your best material, and hopefully die.
Yeah. So like, use this emotional appeal when it's convenient for you. Like, even if the world's biggest villain that just hates America is attacking us and we really do need to fight back, I still don't want my baby going to war.
Right.
I want my baby in bubble wrap at home safe with me. I would never say, yes, I will gladly send my child, because it is my child, even if the war is necessary. It's that emotional appeal, but you're saying then, but when you turn it around to something that they agree with,
yes, they're not consistent.
Then we say, okay, well, would you let your child go and hang out with these people? Would you let your child go and hang out at the border and watch the cartel come across or whatever? Then it's like, oh, hold up. You're making an emotional appeal.
Yeah. And I was, even when I was a kid, I really disagreed with selective service. Okay. So the wars that were fought previously, the number of troops mattered because the ground wars mean that if you had a bigger army, whatever. And I'm like, so you're going to tell me that if we wanted to fight a war, that you were going to take people against their will and that might not even be good at it and make them go do something. Do I want a person next to me, if I'm a good fighter, with a bunch of just bodies?
Yeah. And my husband has said the same thing when he when he joined his regiment, he was like, when I joined the military and I made the decision to do this, knowing it could cost my life, I wanted to go to the most elite area because I don't want the guy fighting next to me to be there because he screwed up his life or because he failed out of school or because he whatever. So he had to join the army, you know, and he's like, no, I want to get to a level that if you are there, you are serious about this. You are trained. You are in it to win it. You like, this is what you do, not, oh, I had to.
Yeah.
I had to be here. Like, that's just suicide.
Right. And that's why that one falls a little flat, but I mean, the thought experiment, meaning that if you had to put something that you cared about in peril for something that you believe, that is the definition of a principle because it's universally applied no matter where it's wielded. And I will tell you that if my country was threatened and my son was necessary to preserve the life and he wanted to go, like, I would absolutely support him in as much of patriotic vigor that I possibly can. I would think that that's noble. If you wanted him to go to prove a political point so that you would stop me from supporting a war effort because I don't want my son to die, right? Then, yeah, that's an unfair, emotional, kind of blackmail.
Yeah. Wally says, I took part in the Iran hostage rescue attempt in 1980. Been dealing with Iran military ever since. Can't say too much, but conducted surveillance on them as late as 2020. They were building up their nuclear and missile defense, so everyone would be afraid to confront them. Better to set them back now before it's too late.
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks,
I think the timing, like you can say that it was because of the midterms or distraction from the Epstein files. But I think when the people of Iran started rallying in the street, it communicated to everyone else that if we're going to do it, it's when the public really is begging for it.
Yeah.
If you can have the people right now, like Afghanistan, the public didn't care that we were doing this.
We were like, we set you free, go. And they're like,
oh, well, let's just put some more terrorists in there. So that was the timing on that wasn't, it didn't give it a high probability of success because it wasn't even being asked for.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point, is doing it, when the political climate, when the social climate is ready for it.
Exactly.
Jerry says, just remember everyone gets promoted to their own level of incompetence.
Well stated, Jerry.
Julie says, we do support genocide. Gaza.
We do not. Julie, come on. Like, I know that's a talking point of the left. So what? Okay, let's define our terms again. What is genocide?
Isn't that where you just like take out an entire race, basically, or entire group of people?
You target a specific group and try to eliminate them. So if you live in South Africa and you're a Christian, and they don't like Christians, and so the government goes out, slashes your farm, and kills you, that's a genocide. It is a deliberate action to remove an ethnic or religion or a race from it. That is genocide. Now, genocide light is when you declare war on something like terrorist, right? And then the terrorists surround themselves by women and children, and then women and children die. So then you say that even though Israel really wants to hit the women and children, right? It's not the terrorists that create, that unacceptable level of, whatever, and they happen to die.
It's not them that did something bad. It's our fault.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the genocide light, where there's an ethnic group that is being hit more than any other, but they are not the targeted group, and they're not the reason for the targeting.
Yeah. And that's kind of why too, Julie was saying, if it is your kid, it's personal. So personally, how would you feel? That emotional appeal kind of is like, okay, well, if we're bringing emotion into it, then back to the question I posed earlier. If they weren't threatening us, but they were killing their own people, they were controlling their information, they were keeping them stifled and away from the rest of the world. They're not allowed to see anything on social media except the Ayatollah's narrative. They're not allowed access to any information or education except the Ayatollah's narrative. And the moment they speak out, they are killed.
Yeah.
Do we do nothing? I mean, if we're making it about emotion, do you do nothing in that case? Because it's not our war.
Yeah. And again, very fair curiosities that keep the actions noble. And everyone should do that pushback. But the zealots in you, that once you get data, like once you hear that Israel hit a building that was a command and control center inside a hospital, like you get to agree they hit the hospital because of the command and control center, or they hit the hospital because they really don't like the people that are in it. And once you're a zealot and say Israel's like, no, listen, this is how it went down. If you still then believe that Israel just wants to take out the people rather than the command and control center, you're just entrenched.
I mean, if we have an entire military base and there's a school on that base, do you think any other country gives two craps where that school is, or are they taking out our military base?
Yeah. You have to,
Yeah.
Okay. Carter says Joe is right. The Democrats support the criminals rather than the victims, illegals over citizens, and our enemies rather than us. And Julie says, I'm not talking about World War II principles. We are talking about this war and this time with this administration. What's that in relation to? Talking about
World War II
endlessness, unnecessary war. Yeah, well, we're just using other examples of war and applying it to today's engagement.
She said, we targeted a specific group and have nearly succeeded so that Trump and Jr. can build his resorts.
So a group of what, terrorists? Like anybody making an argument that if we are taking out terrorists, is that a group? Like, is it bad to genocide terrorists?
I don't think so.
I mean, I don't think anybody would feel empathy for terrorists that are willing to take you out from you taking them out.
Like, Julie, just so we're clear, and maybe we don't understand your point. Is your point that we as the United States, meaning Trump and his administration, is targeting a group of people unnecessarily and causing a war just to get money? Is that your point? Is like, maybe they weren't a threat to us. There weren't somebody we should be worried about. We're just doing our own form of evil genocide to make money. I mean, if that's your point, that's your point. I was just seeing if we were straight on what we're actually debating here.
Yeah, and I think we did the whole Gaza thing when it was happening. So I think our arguments are already known that this isn't your traditional country versus country fight. It's still an extension of, terrorist zones like they had in Afghanistan, like they had in Iraq. And those are the worst kind of fights because they're using a vulnerability, and the people like Julie out there that will take the side of the regular people. And, you hit them with something and they go from a terrorist that had a bomb backpack that was ready to go somewhere. And now it's like, okay, this was just a contributing father who now is dead because of it. It's, it's a hard thing because these are almost like the colonialists, right? In the Revolutionary War, these are regular people, right? And so they were both fighters and they were also just regular people. So when you take action on someone who's just a regular person with a gun, did you go after the person that was coming after the British, or did you go after the person that was protecting his farm, right? One person's going to say, oh, you look at this. You killed a farmer and he just didn't want you on his land, versus a person was like, no, I'm with these guys and we're taking out British officers.
Yeah. And it is so, I mean, like we said earlier, using emotion is like the MO right now when it comes to anything. Like during the last, what was it, State of the Union or whatever that Trump just had. And is it true the Democrats would not stand when he acknowledged the parents of, I can never say her name, but the blonde woman that was killed on the train? I heard he acknowledged her parents and nobody like on that side would stand. Well, I'm like, that's not even a divisive issue.
But think of it this way. The Democrats during the State of the Union, part of their thing is they oppose him, right? Hold signs, chant, the buttons, the little paddles that they would hand up, right? Yell at him and whatever. Well, this time they all agreed that they were going to be silent. They all agreed that their opposition is just to be silent. So they were public. They were public. They said that very publicly.
Yeah.
So if I'm Trump and I'm master troll, I'm see the side of the thing that they are in a mode where they're just not going to stand. It's not about what you say. They've already agreed that anything you say, They're just going to stay in silence. So what I'm going to do as that troll is I'm going to say something that typically someone would stand for. And you got everybody there saying, all right, I've been instructed by leadership not to stand for anything. But then Trump just said something that's like, oh, if I don't stand for this,
we're really going to look bad. Yeah.
And so he pushed on that lever as many times because that was a political maneuvering to make the Democrats look bad when there weren't objecting to that part. They were objecting to the entire speech, and it just happened that part was looked real poorly for them.
But they didn't even stay silent. Did they get in a screaming match?
They did.
Yeah. Let's see. Palestinians, did we read that one yet? Palestinians, 2.3 million have been displaced. Kushner admitted that he and Witkoff have had a 3-year plan for Gaza.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. It's been Gaza's just been, and that whole Palestinian area, it's been a cluster that is not going to take a natural end. Like if we let nature take it, that's going to be a war zone forever. So it's going to take somebody that puts some foundation, some framework in there, so it doesn't spin back to what it was before. When you have two groups, and we have these in our own neighborhoods where you have like, there was a little triangle piece of land, right? Way in my backyard when I was growing up. I think it was ours. And the neighbor to the left absolutely thought it was his. All right.
Yeah.
And we had it staked out, and he had his reasons why he thought it was his, and I knew why it was mine. And so he would make moves like mowing it, right? Trying to get to mowing it, because if you take care of a piece of land for so long, it becomes yours, right? And so when his effort to claim my land, then I would try to get to it next to basically prove that we were maintaining it, and he couldn't take that, that off of us. So that little contentious people land, it went on for, a decade of us.
Nobody called a surveyor or anything like that.
No, it was just a battle.
I feel like this didn't have to go on for a decade.
I know, but it created a rift between us because we're both laying claim to a piece of land, and nobody will agree whose it is, and we keep doing things to outmaneuver the people in front of us. And so Palestinians and Israel contested land, fighting over it. Nobody will ever concede it. And so you got this perpetual battle. We could have done the smart thing, which hire a surveyor out there, plot out the land, right?
Find
but
out
him
whose
trying
it is.
to mow it meant that he probably knew it was ours, but he didn't want it to be ours. So he was trying to, even if he believed us that on paper it was ours, that he was going to take it from us.
Wait, is it a real thing? If you start maintaining it, it can become yours?
I think either urban legend or it could be a complete myth.
Because if that's the case, we got
be
more
a myth,
land than
but
we
I think
think.
there was something on the books in the county that if you take care of it for like 10 years, it becomes yours, or so many years. I think it's a real thing. At least as a kid, I thought it was a real thing.
I don't know if that's a real thing.
It might have been.
Julie says, do you really think Trump gives a rat's ass about those parents?
What parents?
The parents of the girls that was stabbed to death on the train.
I don't know. I'm assuming you don't think he cares about that.
I'm assuming you think no. Oh, what does Jeff say? I lived in LA and many of my neighbors were Armenian. Their story is interesting. Around the time of World War I, like 1919, the Ottoman Empire of Turkey elicited a genocide upon Armenians in Armenia. Over 1 million were, it just jumped. Over 1 million were slaughtered. Many of them moved to Persia, the countries of Iran, Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon. Things were great in Tehran, Iran for Armenians, until the Shah was removed from power and the Ayatollah took control. The Armenian church is the second oldest Christian church and
I cut off for that.
Thank
you for that explanation. I appreciate it.
Dennis says Israel is just asserting their honest surveyor. They're an honest surveyor.
Yeah, and I think what happens in international affairs is that we take these contentious things and we let them to bottle it up over decades and don't really fix them. And then they fester, they get stronger. And then when you really have to clean it up, it's going to be disastrous and messy and whatever. And I think nobody wants to touch any of these problems because they would be so messy. It takes, for instance, Israel has great covert operations. The pager thing with Iran, like they have the ability to dig in and do surgical implementation of military. So we don't have to resort to blowing big things up. We take it from the inside. But so does our enemies. They do the same thing. So they're, I almost want to rip the Band-Aid off and let everybody just fight it out, clean up all of these messes, get it all off the table at one time.
So a big world war?
Yeah, do a world war, get all of the Band-Aids ripped off. And then after everything settles, the stronger will win, the weaker will not win. And then we can assess the cancers that remove themselves. I mean, the monster in a closet analogy, where if you have a monster and you slay it when it's little, then down the road, do you want to slay it when it's big and powerful and scary, right? So it's terrible either way, but if the longer you wait, the bigger it gets, the more dangerous and more devastation happens when you take it out.
Yeah. What does Carter say? Carter says, you know damn well that if Trump did not get involved in the Mideast or Ukraine, the Democrats would be calling him an isolationist. He can't win no matter what. Definition of TDS.
Do you think TDS should be studied as a psychological phenomenon?
I do think it should be studied. I don't know if it's psychological or sociological. Maybe both.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be like we can put it under the umbrella of TDS, but really it could just be maybe a political disorder in general. Like, when will somebody side with one side, right or left, no matter what? Because like you could say that some people on the left are gonna just hate everything Trump does. It doesn't matter what he does. He can do no right. They're gonna find a way to hate it if he did it. But I mean, you've got people on the far right as well that are gonna be like
BDS. Oh, that's so fitting for Biden.
BDS. That's Biden derangement syndrome.
Yeah. I mean, Trump every speech comes out and blames him for something, regardless if it was his or not.
I think you've got hardcore right-wing people that are going to see anything the Dems do as crazy or stupid, or they don't know what they're doing, or, I don't know if it's only, we hear a lot about TDS because Trump is in office. Mm-hmm. So his opposition is just louder right now. But when Biden was in office, I feel like I heard a lot of opposition against Biden because it was louder, because that was the administration in power. And
so what I think's interesting. Okay, so you were alive when George W. Bush was president, right?
Yes.
Okay, what did they do to George W. Bush during his deal?
They made him look stupid.
They made him look stupid, right? They didn't take him serious. Now, in today's climate, do you see when they refer back to George W. as almost like someone they're setting on a pedestal for behavior in comparison to Trump? And I'm like, hold up.
Hold up.
You
Wait
did
a minute.
the same shit to George W. Bush at the time, more effectively, and it caused George W. to be a little bit lesser effective because of your criticism and how you treated him in the actual media. Now we have doing, let's just say, one for one, the same stuff, but Trump doesn't give two shits about your criticisms, and the people who support him don't care either, because you basically do the same maneuver no matter who's there. So it's not about being stupid or being evil or being Nazis or whatever. Yeah. You are going to always claim that. Now, and then I wind back to when Biden and Obama were president. You know what the first thing I said about Obama when he was elected?
What?
He's my president, and I want this guy to have a fair shot. I think he could do some great things. So right now, he has my support because I want him to be successful. First thing I said.
Yep.
How many people out there, when Trump got in office, said, you know what? I didn't vote for him. I don't like him as a person, but I want him to be successful. So you've got my support until something happens.
Yeah. And honestly, I think when I get accused of being a Trumpster or right or anything of that nature, I'm trying to think like, wow, do I lean more one way? What I think it is, honestly, is I just want whoever is in office to succeed.
Yes.
I don't want to be screwed.
What is it? Hold on. Before you go too far on that, what does it mean to succeed?
I want our country to be safe and protected. I want us to prosper, meaning Not everybody is strained financially.
Okay.
I want it to go well. I don't want there to be so much opposition from every side that nothing can get done. And we just go through 4 more years of another person for no reason whatsoever. That nothing got accomplished.
If you don't have shared ideals, you can't then don't have common agreement between what it means to be successful. So if President President X got in there and his goal was to eliminate anybody named Kelin, take all their rights away, right?
That's not nice.
You couldn't then say, "Oh, I just want this president to be successful," because it directly conflicts with how you could be represented or what damage could be done to you.
True.
But if we had common ideals, we would know, like, okay, if the president does things like his checklist of what the role is that makes everybody happy is that we're protected. He makes the economy work. He, defends our liberties and makes sure we're not in danger. So I can just go around. I'm not ill affected by the government. The economy doesn't get damaged by the decisions of the executive. Then we can all agree, hey, do you want success to be that people are enabled or governments are enabled?
Yeah. And I too, like when Biden was in office, I defended him as well. And you can ask anybody who knew me years ago, they'll tell you. I even defended if he seemed a little off. I'd say, well, he's going through a lot. This is a man that has lost a child, and I can't imagine what that would do to someone. And he's got a very stressful job. And then it wasn't until later on that I'm like, okay, regardless of why you're a little off, you're a little off. And you're our president. So this is getting concerning, and then even when he was done and you kind of see him starting to deteriorate, like you could be like, all right, I tried to give you the benefit of the doubt because I don't want America to suffer. I want us to do well, but it's time to go. And even when Trump came in, I don't have to be like, yay, MAGA Trump. Oh, he's so great, blah, blah, blah. I just don't want America to do badly. Mm-hmm. So I want him to do the right thing and to be a good leader and call out when they are and call out when they're not, either side. In fact, I know I shouldn't tell this story. But I'm gonna. I know there was Biden derangement syndrome because at the time when Biden was president, we had a family member pass away and they had military honors at their funeral. And as they are folding the flag and presenting it to the family, and they said, on behalf of the President of the United States, we present, a family member said, not my president. I went, it wasn't out loud. It wasn't audible. Not everybody heard it. Thank God. But my first reaction is, love or hate who's in office right now, you think it's appropriate right now to make a statement about the President of the United States. Do you understand where we are right now and what is happening? And your first gut reaction is to take a political dig.
Yep.
That is political derangement syndrome. Yeah. It happens with Trump and it happened with Biden.
Absolutely. Dennis says the 9/11 Israeli art students. Dennis said, did you see James Carville's TDS rant? Good Lord, that guy is nuts. Yeah. And you know what? At one point, I liked Carville, and then he did go off the reservation. But I think these Democrats, they get pressured so much into the, we'll say like Bill Maher. Like for a while, the dude was like really crazy Democrat, really. And then he kind of came down to middle road. He argues that the Democrats left him. He didn't go anywhere and whatever. But
I made that argument. Yeah.
But I like, Carville's a smart guy. He was the engineer behind most of the Clinton's, Clinton administration. So he knows what he's doing. He's very good at choreographing, political strategy. So I take what he says. He's very politically captured, but I think he has a really good brain inside that head. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Angelina says, good morning. Share this live. Say hello.
Thanks, Angelina.
Thank you, Angelina. The Dems manufactured the something Russiagate before he took office. Well, and those operatives behind the scenes, they had contingencies that if this guy got elected, they were going to take him out either through the courts or some scandal or whatever. So every time something pops up that is really bad, right? And has an anonymous source or an corroborated or whatever. I'm thinking there was an era where all of the mechanics of government were used to try to get this guy out if he happened to be elected. So I'm just kind of on the lookout for those kind of things that otherwise would be respected. If you made a charge that this guy was a certain thing, I'd halfway say, let's dig into that. But after Russiagate, I'm like, these guys were gunning for him from the very beginning.
Yeah. Russiagate. I like the names that things get.
Pizzagate, Russiagate,
Paper
Watergate.
Tiger.
Iran is now saying that if U.S. continues to bomb or hit Iran, they will start to bomb their neighbors. I believe that is not a viable threat. I'm also tired of the individuals not understanding that there are unintended casualties when bombs are set off. There is no longer a verbal fight. Dems are all for NATO and believe in U.S. alliances, but when U.S. is now helping protect the world, they have issues. Yeah, it's become a weird bastard child.
Yeah, it's always like, this isn't our fight. We should mind our own business, unless it's giving money away free to other countries. When we can't support our own citizens, then we need to help other people. And it's like, well, if you're going to help other people, you're going to help other people. Not only if I like how it looks.
But the problem is in the math behind it, because if people in the United States, like, we don't losing our lives. We don't like just martyring ourselves. That just means you're dead. And a lot of people don't want to be dead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when it comes to bombing, we are willing to negotiate down to sparing lives because we have true empathy for people losing their lives. It's culturally just different. Now, if you do like Iran and you tell all your people that martyring yourself gets you, 17 virgins and pure, everything once you die, now you get a bunch of people that aren't willing to take death off of the negotiating tool, right?
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are going to die. And they're like, okay, cool. That's a instant gateway into heaven. Let's do that. Well, we got to think of other things other than the threat of loss of life. It's effective towards us, but it's not effective in negotiating. We could be like, hey, Iran, we're going to just bomb the crap out of you. And then they're like, okay, well, that's not a good bargaining chip with us. Pick something else, dude.
Yeah. And I even think, too, I get conflicted in my own head. Like I said, if really the narrative was true that we told Iran, let's come to the negotiating table, let's sit down and chat. We got them all in one room and then killed them. That feels slimy. As though Americans are expected to have decorum and integrity. And I have to also think, do you think Iran would think twice about doing that to us?
No, not at all.
There are war rules, but are there really war rules?
Those baits that they do with law enforcement. They send a letter to you that says that you've won kind of like lottery or you have a rebate check, and they show up to the police station and put handcuffs on you. Is that slimy? You trick somebody to being in a spot so then you can arrest them instead of go to the field and handcuffing them, because that's freaking dangerous. They come to you, they walk in, right?
Is that entrapment?
Slimy? That's no.
What's entrapment?
Creating the condition. So you.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is using a slimy tactic to get someone to show up when you actually do have an actual warrant to be able to arrest them.
Yeah.
So anyway,
you're like, you got served.
Yeah. And I'm thinking that's good thinking.
Yeah.
Wanting our president to fail is like getting on an airplane and hoping the pilot crashes the plane. Julie says, I wanted Trump to succeed early on in 2016, even though he disparaged a war hero, a disabled person. And I am ashamed I gave him that latitude. He has been worse than I could ever imagine. Charles said, most of us agree on what we would like to see accomplish. The strategy and who gets the recognition is where we quarrel.
Yep.
Dean says, I didn't like Biden, but I didn't want him to fail. I didn't agree with his policies and share memes about him, but I wanted him to succeed. And Dennis says, now he trolls Adam Schiff with Obama quotes. Yes, he does. Troller in chief. Julie says, can you say that anything is better in this country since Trump became president? Take the border off of the table. I would say. Wait a minute.
Quick question. Why do we have to take the border off the table?
Because that was a true success, and we don't want to talk about
that.
Yeah,
you said, is anything better except the clear one?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, economically, it is so much better. I just talked to probably 4 or 5 entrepreneurs yesterday, and we were talking about economic pressures, labor, access to goods, the marketplace, imports, and whatever. And everybody is so damn excited for the Q3 and Q4 of this year and everything that's happening. Because basically what happened when these tariffs they were painful in the short term because we obviously took some product that we were used to getting for nice and cheap, and now we made them competitively expensive. And it meant businesses here had to start developing these products. And at the same time, looking at the tariffs and saying, well, I can't overinvest because politics could change that overnight. I could put all this money into developing goods here in the United States. Next president gets in there, tears down that tariff structure, and then cheap goods flood in there. Now I'm sitting with all of this investment and can't sell that shit, right? Mm-hmm. But that stuff is going to start happening, and those local goods and local production is going to start paying off. So like when you hear oil production, the importing from Canada, who's the largest oil producer? Just not knowing anything I just talked about now. Who's the biggest oil producer in the world?
I feel like I should know this. Is it? I don't know.
United States.
Is it?
Number one.
I did not know that. Mm-hmm.
And so would you rather be energy independent, or would you rather now I'll give you one caveat. It's more expensive to produce and distribute our oil here. And so it's cheaper if you buy it from the Middle East. So let's just say it's...
I was going to guess the Middle East, but that must be why.
Let's just say 70%. So I have a choice. Use domestic oil that's more expensive to refine and make usable for fuel, or get super cheap oil from the United States. Now, what happens if at one point you're like, well, the person that's selling this oil, they're not friendly with us, and we've become dependent on them for cheap oil prices. It helped everything because now our transportation costs are lower and manufactured goods are lower. So our people like that these low cost of goods, but we're dependent on them, and they have control over us because we've gotten everybody conditioned to cheap oil. And someone comes in there and says, all right, no more cheap oil. We're going to make it work with our stuff because that money, instead of being sucked off and sent to another country, it gets spent here. Short term, everything's going to get pricier, right? Yeah. But as that money filters through, and now those companies dump off to local vendors, and those vendors dump off to local employees, and now we have payrolls that go up and spendable money in the United States. You watch your economy grow because that portion of your economy, you're not exporting out to a country that's not respending it back inside of you. But that takes time in order for that whole life cycle of a dollar thing to happen. But that's why these entrepreneurs are watching where those capital expenses are going, watching those growth spurts because of those tariffs. And now you get to December and it happens just like I suggested. Mm-hmm. As long as politically we don't sabotage what's going to happen, your neighbors are going to be the beneficiaries of that spending, which means now we have more consumers to buy even other products. And so long that we keep outside products from competing against domestic products, and we're actually a satisfactory option. Now you can see how the U.S. economy gets way better super quick.
Yeah, I can think of a social issue I think is better since Trump came in office. Yeah. And this is controversial, and people may not agree. I think he made it at least for a little while. He made it people feel safe to be able to talk again and say what they think. So many people, I think, can't ever bring up a topic, an issue, without being labeled as something. Like, nobody can have a discussion. Nobody can solve a real problem.
I'm going to pee real quick, so I don't interrupt you.
Yeah, go ahead. Nobody can actually solve a real problem because they're so afraid that the sheer fact they're bringing it up is going to get them in trouble. Whatever they say about it is going to be misconstrued, and someone's going to twist their words. You're going to be made to look like a hateful person. And this happened in real time as people were feeling freer and freer to speak their mind, as they're getting called racist, or they're getting called bigots, and they're getting called whatever. And I'm not talking about people that truly are. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist. I'm not saying people aren't bigots. I'm sure there are just genuine a-holes. But I'm talking about the people who are none of those things, that felt stifled and felt censored and felt as though they were not allowed to have an opinion or say anything or call out something that they think is wrong or support something that they think is right. We were we were getting so censored that everybody was afraid to say, oh, no, you don't talk about that. I can't talk about that. I'll get in trouble, or someone will get mad, or someone will get offended, and then I'll be looked at some kind of way. And like it or not, I think Trump and his administration made it so that people can say things again. And the pushback against being called all the names, like, oh, you're racist if you say that. No, I'm not, actually. I'm not. That's not racist, what I said. Oh, you're a jerk for saying that. Actually, what I said is not a jerk. It's actually helpful to people. I'm trying to help people. And just because I'm trying to help someone in a different way than you want to help them, we're both trying to help. You just don't like the tactic I'm using, me being hypothetical other person. And so you want to name call and you want to say I'm some kind of something. I like that Trump made it okay for people to say that's bullcrap, and I'm not going to be labeled as something unnecessarily simply for having an opinion that is different from yours. Let's see. Julie says, why does Israel need billions of dollars? They have better living standards, free housing, free healthcare, free education, longer lifespan. Julie, I'm going to defer you to Joe on that question because he will probably know more about that than me. It's not a war crime the first time. So yeah, I was just saying, people I felt like can say stuff and push back when they're called names. Like, no, I'm actually not racist because I think this. I'm actually not a bigot because I think this. And that's bullshit, and we're not having that anymore, was my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Julie had a question about Israel up top, and I said, I'm going to defer to you because I don't know.
Okay.
Why does Israel need billions of dollars? They have better living standards, free housing, free healthcare, free education, and longer lifespan.
Why do they need our billions? Like, let's just say we cut ties with Israel. I think Israel, we buy restraint from Israel more than anything else. They include us because they have a far superior military than all of their surrounding, neighbors. Mm. And our cooperation almost muzzles them a little bit for the sake, like if there's a true contentious, your neighbor says, I hate you and I think you should die. Mm-hmm. It's an obvious response from Israel to say, okay, I'm just going to take you out. Right.
Yeah.
And we get to come to the table and say, hold up, let's think of a different version and spare those other countries. Right. So I think we're honestly the mediator between what Israel could truly do on their own and what they would do without our influence. And that, so I think that's a, benefit to the world that we can talk Israel down. They've got, like you said, they're very prosperous. They can take care of their own business. They don't really need us. The only reason they need us is because we talk them into tolerating their neighbors, which is way more expensive. Like the minute that somebody shot a missile into my backyard, they'd be obliterated if I could do it. If the United States restrains me, now I have to do a missile defense system so that I could try to shoot those things out and then not take aggressive actions on those neighbors. And that costs a whole lot more than what I can defend. But immediate response would be cheaper for them, but it would mean that pretty much all their neighbors would be blasted into oblivion. And we're going to want to spare their neighbors from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Tennis says, I have a hilarious TDS story, genuine a-hole stuff. Emmanuel, remember the backlash from people supporting or not supporting the cause that Charlie Kirk led? A ton of people came out and spoke their opinion, and it was wild, but also reassuring because people had opinions. Talking was a thing again. Yeah.
Yep.
We brought back talking because, like we've said, if there is a social issue, whether it's racism or gender inequality or whatever it is, nothing happens if there's no discussion. Nothing moves forward. It's the equivalent of showing up at the board meeting, everybody sings a song and gets along, and then you leave having done nothing because everybody was afraid to actually bring it up for fear of being accused of being whatever.
I get a little bit tired of conflict sometimes. Like when I'm in a real useful mode, I'll have an opinion and I'll be like, okay, well, is this worth sharing? Because now I'm going to have to, in a different mode, come back and counter argument. It's going to get into a whole thing. I know it. Then juice isn't worth the squeeze sometimes, and I self-silence so that I just don't get into a conflict I know is not going to change anything.
Yeah, because sometimes I like to listen to just the other side of something. Like, for example, we all know I'm a little bit of a fangirl when it comes to RFK Jr. Mm-hmm. I like a lot of the things he's doing. I had dinner the other night with somebody who works in the school system, specifically the cafeteria, and is seeing now the real restrictions coming in to schools. I had no idea they were as strict as they are. I was like, oh yeah, we're going to get rid of dyes and maybe some processed food. And she's like, no, we measure the sodium amount per week, how much sodium a child could get, the calories they can get, the sugar content they could get, no dyes. She even said, they had a student that was autistic and he always gets strawberry milk. And now that strawberry milk is no longer pink, he had a full-blown meltdown because his milk's not pink. And I kept hearing all these things and I was taking it in and I said, yeah, I bet that's really frustrating for this person's position. It's a lot. And I even said, do you have a grace period? Is there like a transition period that you have several weeks to make sure you're getting everything? She's like, no. 3 days. 3 days, the state came in and literally stood over your shoulder and watched everything you do. And if you mess it up, you pay money back to the government. And I'm like, well, yep, I bet that's really frustrating and maybe a little scary and maybe a little, whoa, what are we going to do? And I left it at that because in my head, I'm like, but we're talking about our human beings and what goes in their body. So if there is a transition period that is less than ideal and is a little bumpy so that we can eliminate long-term health effects,
juvenile like diabetes
and cancer and neurological disorders. And
that's pretty important, right?
Yes. I'm like, okay, well, let's have all the strawberry milk meltdowns. It's going to suck. Yeah. So we just do nothing,
Well, even with SNAP benefits and cutting out sugary snacks and whatever from how you're allowed to spend those benefits, like that's a brilliant move.
Yeah. And I have a friend of mine now, her son is not on the autism spectrum, but her son always used to use strawberry toothpaste and it was red. And she said, she swears, she's like, I'm telling you, the moment we went to same taste, strawberry toothpaste tastes the same, but it looks gray now. There's no red dye. She swears her son's behavior changed for the better. And I'm like, well, there probably is something to this, I would think. And again, like, I don't work in the school, so I guess I'm not as put out by all the restrictions. But as a parent, I loved hearing this.
Yeah.
But
what we were doing was clearly making people sick and dependent on, medical systems, sick care and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so you had to do something because our entire population isn't starving. We have access to food. We just have so much processed shit that we're making everybody sick. And if you're delivering it like inmates in jails, schools, like any captured audience that don't have choices to be able to go down the block and get something that's not ultra processed and then some healthy. I feel for those because they don't have any choices. At a school, let's just say, well, my kid's school is an example. They have unhealthy food and they have healthy food. The healthy food is free, right? You get free lunches. Everybody who eats the healthy selection, all free. Any of the unhealthy selections, you can get it, but it costs you actual money. So the benefit is the one thing they want you to eat, they'll make it so available to you. And the one they don't really want you to eat, you don't get it, but there's a cost attached to it.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in school, and one of the things I told this person too, I was like, oh, we had vending machines with candy bars and we had ice cream sundae day. But yeah, it was your parent will give you money if they think it's okay for you to go get a candy bar. And I'm like, all right, I don't hate that. Leave it up to the parents. And then make the actual healthy food free. So maybe there's a happy medium here that everybody can win. I don't know. But
like a medium to what? It's like, we're going to just give them enough poison.
Yeah. Like, we're going to let the parents decide to poison. Yeah. Like, school has to offer this
actual poison, right?
Yeah.
So that all you have to do is say food in schools cannot contain poison.
Yeah.
And then everything's off the table if it's a poison.
And now, I mean, did you see he wants Starbucks to start reporting what's in their coffees? And again, not groundbreaking that a frou-frou mocha, whatever, chino ice, something from Starbucks, not good for you.
Not coffee even.
Yeah, I think everybody can get on the same page. It's not good for you. But he's going to say like, let's actually see what goes in it. It's funny because people either think RFK is being too harsh and taking away things people love unnecessarily.
Yes, they should.
Or they say, well, what he's doing is obvious. Everybody knows that's not good for you. Okay, well then why is that a pushback?
But he's not taking it away. He's not putting a ban on products that are terrible for you. You can do free will and go eat all the bad things that you want.
Yeah.
It's only that if you are on a benefit or in the system as a inmate or in the system as a student, we're not allowed to poison you because you don't have as many choices as if you're a person that lives in a place and has options. They can do whatever they want to do. If you do it on your own dime, we don't care what you do. If you do it through our system, it's just stuff that's not going to kill you and is not poisonous.
Yeah. You want the government to take care of you? Well, then we're taking care of you by not killing you.
Yeah.
And if you don't like that,
go do it on your own. Yes. Make that an incentive to not need somebody else to pay your way.
Yep. There's a couple things above. I think we missed a few comments. Like Obama said, elections have consequences. Maybe if the Dems didn't fight everything Trump does, the country would be better off. Dennis says, don't engage the noise. Remember the brief era of green and purple ketchup? No way. Oh yeah, I remember purple ketchup. That was weird. California would ban all food in schools. Jerry says, no longer allowed to have guitar drinks, pop machines available during school hours.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Oh, sugar, not guitar. I was like, what is a guitar drink? I was like, is that something I missed? Yeah, sugar drinks. Julie says, RFK Jr. reversed his rule on red dye.
I've watched him go back and forth, and they are literally in knee deep in the studies and the research. So if he went a little draconian in one direction, I have a feeling that once the rest of the research and the rest of the metrics, that it'll normalize a little bit. It won't be a full out ban. But for the short term, if your people are dying, if their rates of autism is super high, if immune system, problems are happening on a grand scale, you got to make some big moves. That if you have 1,000 contributing forces, take half of the variables off the table so you can figure out what is happening.
Yeah, I mean, one thing for me as the parent of a girl, I've got to it's alarming when you see these young girls developing so soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I am no scientist. I am no doctor. I don't know if there is a logical explanation that is not a dangerous one or not, but that's a red flag to me. Is why do all these little girls look totally different today than they used to? It feels like something is happening in their body and it doesn't look good.
So make a couple of guesses.
Hormones.
Okay.
In what we're eating.
Okay. So now, do you know a lot more people with thyroid issues now?
Probably.
Explosion of thyroid issues.
I know a few, yeah.
Okay. So are we chemically, environmentally, are we doing anything that disrupts hormones or thyroid operations in the body? Could we isolate and say what things really messed with hormone production? We can put them all up on a map and say, which of these are we exposing children to? And then if you go through, if you've got hormone disruption and developing too fast or cancers that generate or just other developmental issues, and then we're doing 9 things out of 10 off of the list that disrupt hormone distribution in the body, would you not eliminate the things that we're doing that we know disrupt hormones first?
Yeah, like the obvious dangers. Why not?
No downside.
Do you feel like more and more people are getting breast cancer?
Yes.
I couldn't tell, am I just hearing about this more often because of social media, or is this happening more often? Because it's a lot, I feel like. All kinds of different cancers and younger and younger. Something's happening. And I'm sorry. If we got to inconvenience the school system to track what's going in my kid's body to avoid that, sign me up.
Yeah, I think we're doing everything that contributes to this end, and we need a baseline to see if, you let's just say we're doing 5 things wrong, and each one are isolated contributors to what we're experiencing. And you start removing easy ones off the board, and maybe you have 3 or 4 less, then you can engineer around those to see without giving up the full benefit of what that does in our society. So if you're just a plant eater, right? And So you're not eating a bunch of foods that cause heart problems, red meat's off the table. You're deficient in things like iron. You don't get a lot of exposure to fish, but the calories and what you're able to do, you're healthier from, metabolic stage. But the stuff you eat has a high estrogen content, and it disrupts the production of testosterone, and it messes with development. So you're a kid, you're super healthy because all you eat is plants. You're not hurt by the ultra processed foods in the other direction. So the net gain was you're healthier in XYZ, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're delayed a little bit in, ABC.
Yeah.
And so what we can take that and say, okay, well, let's give all the benefits of being a plant eater and try to choreograph around the high estrogen foods like in chickpeas and, all of the protein substitutes in having that lifestyle, cordon around it. And then so you get the health benefits without all the downside. We can do smart things like that because we're adaptable creatures.
But what we'll do is we'll make it political, and now it's a fight. Now we're arguing about basic health.
You're going to take my tasty ice cream away just because it's killing me.
Yeah.
You're evil, not me.
Oh, remember when it was, I can't believe you won't let kids have a birthday cake. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah, that's really what we're trying to do is
fighting it with emotion. That's taking a political
stance. Kings are trying to end all birthdays. Nasty kings.
Dennis says, what's in that Chick-fil-A chicken? I don't know. What's in the Chick-fil-A chicken? Maybe vaccines give you cancer.
That is an interesting deal. I mean, I'm watching that because early on, some of the researchers, as soon as some of these scientists could start publishing documents without being censored, there was a real risk that the vaccine, especially the COVID vaccine, created a super cancer type of environment where it doesn't. It's almost like putting Miracle-Gro and setting the stage for cancers having an easy time of metastasizing and growing into different organs and tissues. And then the other one was definitely heart problems and having stuff like, I'm seeing every day that these young people are having weird problems with their heart. And every time it goes back to the early researchers said, what this is going to do is create a lot of injury or death in those two departments. And so I fear that these are casualties from, ill-formed opinions and government strategies. So
could be. I think we're out of time. Julie says Chick-fil-A secret is pickle juice.
Is it really?
I don't know. Is it?
I don't know.
Sounds good.
All right. We're out of here for today. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.
See ya. Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel